Hello everyone, I am back in my toy box for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and today I'm going to continue the build exercise for this world. Last time we built the racetrack and the base layer of terrain, and my goal today is to add the remaining terrain, which will finish framing in the toy box. So as we get started, we'll come into the editor, and I'm going to begin over off of this piece of terrain that we put down last time. And pull up my screen grab here so I get this right. And I have this styled. Go ahead and drop this down. I have this styled for Mickey's Fantastic Farmstead. This is the style that we're going to use for all of the terrain that we're going to put down today. So the first piece of terrain goes there. And that's the starting point, I think, that will work best for this build. We're going to put another one of those next to that, and then one of these next to that. And what I'm doing is kind of creating a break here between these two parts of the track, so that, first of all, as the player comes around here, they can't just take a little shortcut and bypass all of the rest of the course. And it helps kind of break it up a little bit, and you don't necessarily realize just how close you are to this piece of track because you've got that barrier there, and it just kind of helps hide the fact that you don't really know where the course is going next. You're just along for the ride. Alright, so we'll continue our build here around the corner. And I'll pretty up the other side of this shortly. Right now it's kind of flat on the back side of what we're building, but for right now I won't worry about that. Okay, so then we put two of those down, followed by this little inside corner. And then we're going to add in the small one. And that takes us right up to the edge of the track, like you see there. All right. And before I look at this too much closer, I need to double check something. Yeah, making sure that seam is where I want it to be. Okay. Yeah, this is right. All right. Next up, it's probably going to be quicker to pick this piece up and put it back without moving it. And then we're going to grab this piece of terrain. We're going to put two of these down like this. And you'll see that gets us up to the top of the slope. And then we're going to bring in this really large piece. We're going to put this right up here, line it up with the edge of the other one like that. Okay? And we're going to put three of these down. And then we're going to put one over this way. And then one more just like that. And there we go. That frames in the upper side of this area, which will be the farm. One of the first of two farms, actually. Excuse me. And then we'll come pick this piece up. And we'll put it down on this side to kind of hide the gap on the road. Excuse me. It's that time of year again where my asthma acts up. Oops. So, yeah. All I can do is deal with it. I get a lot of gunk and stuff in my lungs. Alright, so there is the opening to the canyon. So you come around here, come up the ramp, and the farm will be back down there. We don't really need to fill this in over here because the player is not going to see that. They're going to be looking forward. All right, so now let's fill in the canyon wall on this side. So we're going to come over here. Let's pick this piece up and put it back. And let me get over to my screen grab here. All right. And I actually want to start with two of these little ones. We're going to put these right here in this corner. Followed by a large one. And then we're going to grab a curve. We're going to grab the curve that fits in here, which is the large one. Okay. And while we're right here, we're going to put another one over on this side. Use the same curve because that'll save memory. Again, the more variety of pieces you use, the more memory that takes up because it has to load all of those models into the toy box. So there's no reason not to use that same one again. Alright, so we're going to put the little one down here. We're going to actually put two of them in here. Followed by the large one. And another large one. And that one. So you don't want those two little ones in here on this end as you're coming down this road and looking at that canyon wall, because the little seams between those pieces of terrain would stand out. So the fewer seams you're looking at, the better. When you come around the corner, you can't really see those two seams over here as easily because you're not looking at them dead on. Just a little tip to remember that can come in handy when you're building. The terrain seams are pretty noticeable, so you want to try to mask and hide those as best you can. And let me just make sure, yeah. I think actually, yeah. We'll go ahead and just put this small one in here. Again, the player's not really going to notice that. And this little extra takes us right out to the bridge. So if you wondered why this seems so far back from the edge of the bridge, this piece kind of takes care of that. So there you go. Okay, so that takes care of this end, and this was the easier half of the upper area to build. This end gets a little trickier because we got the cave, we've got the canyon up here around the bend, and so this is going to be a little bit more work. And so I think the best starting place for this, get to my screen grab here. Yeah. We're going to begin, let's drop a couple of basic blocks down, I think would be the best way to do this. So we're going to put the first one right here off the edge of the bridge, and I'm going to put two of them down like that. Okay? And that's just going to help us line everything up on this end of the toy box. And then back to the terrain drawer, and actually let's pick this piece up here and put it back. Gets us back to that part of the drawer, and I'm looking for this piece. We're going to drop this piece in here like that, actually. And let me just double check that. Yeah. Yep. So just like that. Okay. And then you can take these two little blocks out. And this will be our starting point for the build on this side. Alright, so we'll grab the next size larger block. We're going to put this in here right off the end of that. And we're just going to run a row of these down to the end of the terrain. And there's a gap there on the end, but don't worry about that because the player's never really going to see that. They're too far away from that. All right, next size larger. This is going to sit in here just like this. And we'll put 2 of these down. And then we're going to put this little piece in here, put 2 of them down. Okay. On the other side, bring this all the way down, and you can see how that lines up with the edge of the road there. So as we put a couple of these down, this is forming the wall on that side of the road. So we put 3 of those down. 1, 2, 3, actually 4. And then we'll grab this size smaller and put this down here. Like that. Okay, and there we go. And let me just double check something here. Yeah, I thought that didn't look right. Let me pick that up. We actually need to use the smaller piece there. That looks better. Okay, because we need to leave room for the cave walls. Alright, so we started with this piece. We used the next size piece, and we did have 3 of those. And then we went to the next size smaller. Okay, now let's run back over here and pick this piece up. Put it back. And we're going to build the cave next. So for that, we need these cave wall pieces. And what we're going to do here, so I'm going to put the right edge of this cave piece. Notice how I've oriented it. The right edge of the cave piece is right in the middle of the road. We're going to do the same thing over here, like that. Okay? And then we'll run this down like that. Do the same thing on the other side, like that. And we're going to take this one down a little further, actually, till we get to this last section, and the corner cave piece goes in here. So we have it like that. And what we're doing is just framing in the cave. Oops. And then we put the enclosing wall on this side. Okay, so just like that. Next we will put in a ceiling piece there. And then the wall goes in here like this. And I think that's how I had it. Hang on a second. I need to double check something here. Nope, I did have another ceiling piece here. Okay. So let's make sure it's kind of oriented the same way. I'll pick that up and put it down. We'll put another one down. I think that's how I had it. Something's not lining up here. Hang on a second. This is what happens when you go to build something again, and it doesn't line up quite the way you remembered having it. All right. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong section. Okay, hold on. That helps a lot. Okay, that looks right. Never mind. I was looking over here, thinking that was over here. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so we'll keep building then. And when we get to this end, we got one more, and then this little corner piece that's going to sit in there like that. Okay, so that frames in the interior of the cave. Okay. That makes more sense to me. All right, let me grab my screenshot here. Okay, so as we come over here, let's go ahead and pick this piece up again and put it down. Get back to that part of the drawer. We're going to grab this tiny tall block. And this is going to connect in here, and we need 2 of those. Okay. And then we'll use the next size larger. That's going to sit in here, followed by a second one. Okay, and that gets us up to the edge of the top of the cliff here. Notice that lines up with the seam between these 2 pieces of track. So then we will grab the next largest size, or the largest size rather. This is going to sit in here like that. We're going to put this along the back side like that. And I think that's all we need there. Okay. So there we go. Okay, next up, let's get back to this part of the drawer. And we're going to come over here. We're going to put this piece down just like that, followed by the turn. Followed by that piece. And what we're doing here is basically covering up the gap under the road, because that will be visible as you're driving up here if we don't cover that up. So that's what that does. Then we'll pick this piece up and put it down, and we'll put in a couple of these to fill in the gap on that side. Alright, so there we go. That's taken care of. And let's pick this piece up, put it back, and while we're right here, we'll fill in this section like that. And I'm not worried about the gap under here because the player's probably never going to see that. They're actually going to come off down the ramp and go that way. Okay, and then we'll pick this piece up and put it down. And I've got the wrong piece here. Let me delete that. That should be this piece. And we know we need the inside corner over here. And then we'll just fill that in. It looks like we can use that piece, which is perfect. Okay, next. I'm going to kind of wing this a little bit here. I can't find my screen grab, but basically you're just going to fill in this area along the end, and we'll hide that little piece there in the corner. It's not as likely to be seen. And then around the back side of this, we just fill in that wall. Okay, so there's that side of the canyon. That's looking pretty good. Okay, next level. Let's see, where do we want to start with this? I have to find my screen grab here. Hang on a second. Okay, let's go grab another basic block. And we're going to come over here. And I want to place this right there like that. I think. Yeah. And then we will grab this piece. This goes in here like this. Once again, we'll use our really large turn. And we're just covering up the ugliness in the back corner there, and providing a nice little border here for the toy box. So that's sufficient. Then we can take this little spacer out. And over on this end, start putting in the canyon wall here. We're going to put in a small piece, followed by this piece, followed by the long piece. And then once again, the really large turn. So what the spacer did, when I put that in, was it created a gap between the canyon wall and the road. You don't want the canyon wall right up to the road because the road's kind of narrow. You want to give the player a little bit of room on either side of this thing. And this gap continues all the way around this turn. So that's really helpful. And we want the same gap around the other side over here. Because again, if you put this right up next to the road, there's no margin of error for the player as they go around these turns. And if you drive as bad as I do, that means you're pinballing off of the edge of the walls all the way around the corner. So this gives you a little bit of room to maneuver. And some of your younger players or players who aren't as good a driver as you might be will thank you for that. Okay. So there's the outer wall. And then we'll put in the inner wall. And for this, let's see here. Get to this point. Okay. For this, let's put down another little spacer block here. And we'll start up here on the end of this thing. like this. And this time we're going to come a half a block out like that. So we're only going to give them on the inside corner a half a block gap versus a whole block. Again, this is the cave wall. You notice I have not filled in the ceiling yet. That's just to help me place these things. And for some reason, these ceiling pieces here add some lag to the toy box, and I'm not sure why that should be, but that does seem to be the case. Alright, so back to the terrain drawer. We're going to grab this corner, spin it around, bring it right up to the edge of that block. And actually, I think it's that edge that we want. Yeah. So then we'll delete that. We're going to put in that piece and then another one of these, and that should have brought this out. Nope. Yeah, that should have brought this out to here, actually. So something's a little bit different here. Yeah, I gotta have one of these in here. Okay. But we don't need this on this part of it. So it's not perfectly symmetrical. My wife just sneezed. Don't know if that came through on the audio or not, but that was pretty loud. Okay, and there is the inside, and we don't need to fill this part in because the player is going to be down in this canyon. They're never going to see that. So that looks pretty good. And I just like the idea of having this be a blind turn, not knowing what's coming when you come around the other side of this and out the other end. All right, I like the look of that. That looks really, really good. Okay, let's go ahead and fill in the ceiling here now, since we're done with this section. That also adds the floor for the upper level. There we go. So now underneath you have the whole ceiling filled in. Okay, we are almost done for today. Last thing we need is the cave wall on this side of the valley, which is going to separate us from this part of the terrain, which is the floor of Toad Hall and the town. And I think the best way to do this is put down another little spacer block here. So we're going to come over here, drop this little piece down just like that. Half on the road, half off. Okay? And then back down to the terrain. And I'm going to use this really tall piece here. You could use the shorter piece if you wanted, but when you're in that upper area, you'll be able to see the top of Toad Hall, and I kind of don't really want that when you're out there on that side of the toy box. So we're going to use this taller piece to hide Toad Hall. Okay, so that brings us out to here, and then we're going to run a row of these really tall pieces down the side of this toy box, like that. So now when you're on this end of the toy box, you're not going to be able to see Toad Hall or the top of the town over that way. So it just keeps this area kind of separate from the other part of the toy box, and I like that. And with that, we have finished framing in the toy box, and we can now start adding in all of the details. Next time, I'll show you how to build the interior of Toad Hall, which is where the player enters the toy box and begins the race. You won't want to miss that, so if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet or signed up to follow me on my blog, you may want to do that. Also, let me know in the comments what you think of the toy box layout so far. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and have a great day.